When we're looking at TBIs from a conventional perspective, the main focus is on whether or not there's been structural damage or what appears to be structural damage from an anatomical perspective. The structural element is hugely important because that's the foundation. But equally important is how those structural elements are actually functioning. Do they speak to each other appropriately? Do they communicate appropriately? Is the communication in sync like it's normally supposed to be from a typical, normal processing perspective? When you're looking at brain damage, there's many different things that occurs. We could have a particular lobe or section of the brain, or region of the brain basically, experiencing damage, so we can lose some functional connection, which basically means the neural circuitry themselves are maybe too slow now, or slower, so they're not necessarily receiving the information, or they're static in the lines. The other thing that occurs with that is we have, in the white matter, oftentimes we'll have axon stretching. The stretching of that, you can't see that on MRIs or CAT scans, but you will see it, you'll experience it in real life. You may have the ability to still do math, you may have the ability to still do certain kind of things, but it's slow. But more importantly, what typically happens, you can try to do that same math in a noisy room, or another person talking to you, okay, or a little bit of stress, and all of a sudden you find yourself falling apart. So the brain loses the resiliency because of that stretching, basically. It's whether it's brain fatigues too early. Okay, we all fatigue, but can we go the distance long enough that's considered typical normal for our age? So brain fatigue happens because we may have a particular part of the brain that is easily overwhelmed. For example, it's not unusual to find for our kids who are developing at a slower rate than we want them to develop. We may find the working memory system not maturing at the appropriate capacity. We see the same thing with loss of function from health reasons for adults, where that particular part of the system fatigues sooner than it should. And we start seeing the brain shutting down. So we experience that oftentimes people start complaining, I'm depressed, okay, or they complain that I just can't think like I used to. We complain that maybe we're getting old, okay, when we're not.